Dear viewer, from the moment I came into possession of this camcorder, I've been cursed. Inflicted with the burden of filming a Halloween special, unable to accept using an obvious derivative theme, yet incapable of executing an avant-garde concept, I was at a loss. Refusing to accept the truth, I turned to inoffensive, non-denominational prayer, but the Amazon Basics enchanted prayer beads proved fruitless. With George in juvenile detention due to multiple cancer credit card fraud, I turned to his second cousin, Steven, who urged me that the paranormal was the only way to end my flop era, and insisted that I advertise his direct message only Instagram small business here. While I drew the line at his distasteful suggestion of necromancy, I did receive a vision from him that looked suspiciously like a preview reel. I think since I've been romanticizing modern Asian aesthetics for so long, I'm kinda tired of that and instead decided to delude myself into thinking I'm a 20th century rural schoolboy today, perhaps the second son of a merchant or even landed gentry. I mean, I wanted to do a Ditto theme, but also English dark academia, so this is just me vaguely doing both, so don't mind the inconsistencies. I'm not really a church-going person, but I don't think you really need to be just to admire the centuries-old architecture or the performances. Alas, the choir wasn't taking requests, so I couldn't ask them to sing Romeo and Cinderella for me. Anyways, yes, dear viewers, I'm in England today. I was thinking long and hard about how to do a scarier video for Halloween, but I didn't think I would be able to pull off a found footage horror concept, so instead, it's just going to be a regular format vlog from here on. Now that I'm old and haggard, I've started to romanticize the idea of being a fictional student, to the point where I somehow was willing to go to a library even in the pouring rain, which happened to close within 10 minutes of me arriving in the area, so my heart palpitations were out of control. I was so paranoid I was going to be late that I tried to sneak in through the main entrance off limits for everyone except students, but apparently, the fictional Korean music video high school uniform was not a good disguise, and they made me take the long way. Honestly, nature usually freaks me out, but the whole campus town just felt like a sylvan glade, but instead of fairies, it was just the British. I haven't willingly been to a library since elementary school, but this place really makes you feel like you're in wizarding school. I'm much too superficial to actually try and read the spines of those books, but this way we can collectively imagine that they're ancient scrolls and tomes. You know, I've actually always had a thing for medieval to Victorian era European architecture because of all the Crusader Kings I play, but I know you don't care about that. I do wonder how it feels to be a student here and study inside what's essentially a palace. Personally, I feel like I would get distracted by all the bodies of water. Why are the rivers all brown? I can't swim, so my intrusive thoughts about accidentally falling into the sludge would just give me anxiety all day. When you're scrolling on Pinterest and you see photos of these intricate Gothic stone buildings, I feel like they're so far removed from reality, but now that I'm here, I can feel it in my veins that I used to sell newspaper on this very block in my past life as a paperboy. Honestly, viewer, I've had a very hard time getting footage here because I was so self-conscious with how many other tourists there were around. I mean, everyone's filming since we're tourists, but you know what I mean. I felt bad dragging someone with me to sightsee at multiple churches when I know most people aren't as interested as I am about the aesthetics of old buildings. You know that feeling when you're young and your dad drags you to museums while you're on vacation and all you want to do is go back to your hotel room? Well, now that I'm on the other side of that, it doesn't feel very nice and makes me want to go out to buy milk and never come back to my cameraman. I mentioned this once before, but when I was younger, I was very vaguely an emo kid who wanted to be goth, so being immersed in all of this dark gothic design is healing a part of me inside, and standing at only 4 apples tall, the sheer scale of this place made me feel even smaller. I do wonder what the concept was when they commissioned the black murals, since they look very sinister, like an isekai church. Whenever I look at old artwork, I like to maladaptive daydream that I'm an evil concubine who secured the line of succession through devious means, or a court eunuch who secretly has ties to the emperor, but this isn't the right setting for that. Both my friend and I went to Catholic school, but I only went for a little while, so I guess it's easier for me to romanticize dark academia and find old Bibles quaint. I'm actually very into learning about the Tudor dynasty, but I could tell my cameraman was losing interest, so I picked up the pace and moved on to the next attraction. I suppose I'll go watch a Lindsay Holiday video when I get home on it. The weather got considerably better as the day went on, which is good since my camcorder isn't waterproof, but it also really ruins the gloomy dark academia vibe, but I digress. I know this place seems magical to us, but whenever I sightsee, I wonder if locals are confused since it's so mundane and the equivalent of tourists romanticizing convenience store food. I'm not a furrow person, so I planned this day exclusively based on Pinterest and outdated travel blogs, which meant that I was accidentally trespassing a couple of times. Thankfully, since I wasn't the one holding the camera, I didn't get reprimanded by the staff for filming, but how were we supposed to know when there's no sign anywhere? I would have pretended not to speak English to get out of an awkward situation, but my rhotic pronunciation would give that away. Anyways, while walking in the opposite direction of the school staff who accosted us, we accidentally stumbled into the gardens near a dorm while trying to find an exit. And honestly, for all their beauty, these small campus towns really don't have much going on, and all the campuses and gardens just started to blur into one for me by this time of the day. I know for you it's only been 3.5 minutes, but for me it's been 3.5 hours, and cottagecore loses its appeal after hour 2. I actually purchased tickets for the botanical gardens, but didn't realize it was on the other side of town, and since I was on a time crunch, I figured you've all had seen enough plants, so I just decided to cut my losses and move on. What I did end up going to was punting, where instead of an oar, the tour guide uses a giant metal stick that touches the bottom of the river. The tour guide was sweet, but he kept trying to make small talk with everyone on the boat, and you could tell that most people were too awkward to reply. I'll save you the tour and just show you the super gorgeous Bridge of Sighs that you've probably seen online if you're into the dark academia aesthetic. And without further ado, thank you to my fellow Alpaca Academy students, Chat Buggy, Anjali, Lavi Himawari, Jihyo Kinesis, Amy Louisi, Honey, Cod, Annette Moriori, Zeno, Levi, and Bug-Eyed. And of course, all of my Friediger Dinero tier members for being so patient with me and always looking forward to my content. And also, of course, my other members and those of you who are consistently rooting for me. If you like what you see and you want your own George Moji, early access to videos, and other benefits and perks, please consider joining my membership. The lowest price is always the lowest price in the region. And I will see you all next time. Thank you.